Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. Today we're putting an electrical system in the Viscount Vinson CycleKart. Okay guys, so we just got done reimagining the front end of this cart. We shortened the grill up about 3 inches, and now we're ready to put some headlights and taillights and working brake lights on it. And in another video we'll upgrade the braking system. But we're putting headlights and taillights on it because at Wilcox we run this thing in the dark. And it's nice to have lights to see where you're going and taillights so people know you're in front of them. Well, the cloud of dust will tell them that. But anyway, brake lights so for safety reasons. So here's what we're using. This is a Ryobi adapter for a Ryobi battery. So if you got a Ryobi power tool, this will work great. This one in particular has an on-off switch, which comes in handy, I suppose. I'm going to wire an on-off switch into the circuit so that I can turn it on and off at will. The headlights will have their own switch, but this will basically turn off the entire system. And when it's on, the brake lights will function when the battery's in here. And the brake lights work because we have a brake light switch. This is for a motorcycle, and it will fit in the, I think it's a 10 millimeter, I think that's what that's called, bolt here. Just replace that bolt with this right here, and that will activate the switch. You can either put it on the master cylinder or on the caliper. I'm thinking maybe on the master, depending if there's room in there. Here's the brake line this is going to run, and I don't have the caliper here. It's having some bracket made for it, so we'll do the brake install in another video. But here are the brake lights. These are motorcycle tail lights / brake lights. It comes with a couple different lenses. You can use them as turn signals or whatever. I've used these on the Duesenberg and the Aston Martin. I chose black for this one. You can get them in chrome, I think, as well. And this is the wiring harness we're going to use. This comes with a switch. I think this is $10 on Amazon. And these are the headlights we're going to use. These are LED headlights. These aren't very pretty. They're not very pretty correct, but that doesn't matter. We're going to put them. I think I'm going to put them inside the grill. We'll find a way to mount them so they're not so obvious. And when I ordered on Amazon, I went ahead and got a bunch of the butt connectors, and I bought a tool for crimping. Because last time I was crimping this with a standard set of wire crimpers, and this is supposed to do a good job of crimping this type of connector. So we'll try it out. This will be my first time using those. So anyway, that's kind of the layout of the land. All this stuff came from Amazon. Pretty easy to find. The brakes. This is for a Suzuki GSXR 600 sport bike, rear brake, master cylinder. And the caliper we got is for a Yerf Dog go-kart, 150cc. You could find that Spider Dog or Spider. It's a big Chinese go-kart. Anyway, it's a big 2-piston caliper, and it works great. I have it on a couple other carts. And this is just a generic motorcycle. I think this is 79 or 89 inches long, 2,400 millimeters. Well, whatever that converts to. I don't do metric in my head. I'll have to use an app for that. So, anyway, let's get started figuring out places to put all this stuff. Okay, so I removed the old master cylinder and brake line and installed the new master cylinder, which we'll do the actual install of that later, but just wanted to get some stuff out of the way so the headlights can be mounted. I'm mounting them basically to the frame. Just drill the holes. See, the holes are back here with nuts and bolts, and mounted them there. These are going to be behind the grill because I don't want these to be super obvious that they're there, but they will shine through there. So we'll get to wiring them those in a little bit, but I had to get them mounted so we knew where the wires need to run. I've also got the rears figured out. I made a little bracket. I mounted one right there, and another one will go on the other side. So I'll show you the bracket I have on the workbench here. It's just a little piece of bent aluminum that I painted and drilled a 3/8 inch hole here and drill some holes in it for the rivets, and we'll mount this to that and mount it on the car here in a bit. So making some progress here. Up next is getting the wiring harness laid out and modified to work for what we're doing. Okay, so we got this wiring harness unboxed, and this is designed for a light bar. So here's the wiring harness. It's got a relay, a rocker switch, you see here. It's got a fuse that goes to the positive side of the battery and the negative side of the battery, and then 2 leads that go, and they split off for the light bar right and left. In this case, we're doing a headlight, and we're going to be tying it in for the tail lights to work as well. So we're going to be modifying these. These come with a different type of connector than I want to use. I'm going to use a bullet connector. So these are going to get cut off anyway because this is very long compared to what we need. You see how much wire is here, and then the switch goes here, And on the Aston Martin, I use the same switch, and on my dad's Duesenberg, it turns out we pretty much have to use this type of switch. It's got a third wire in here that illuminates when this is in the on position. And if you try to bypass that, for some reason it just pops fuses. And I don't know exactly understand why. I think it's got something to do with the relay that's wired in here. And that's a very nice feature to have a relay, because it keeps this low current at your switch, and high current goes back through the wire harness. So, and there is a fuse in here in case you override something or ground something out. The fuse here should pop. There's a second fuse also on this device. Some of these that I saw on Amazon did not have that. I ordered one that had it. Just I thought it was a second, additional second layer of protection. So there'll actually be 2 fuses in line there. And when I do the brake light switch, when I power that, I will tie that into this, so that this switch will actually, or this fuse will actually work for that as well. So that'll be well, because you always want to have a fuse on your wiring system. And so I'm going to lay this out on the cart and figure out how much of this wiring harness I'm going to cut away and where we're going to mount the battery. Okay, so I've got the harness kind of laid loosely on the chassis. Got the switch up here where the dash is going to go, and I realize I've got a lot of extra cable there, so I'm going to shorten that up. And I'm going to shorten up this feed to the front where the headlights go. Make that a lot simpler. And I think I'm going to put the battery right here next to the brake pedal. Plenty of room there for the brake pedal to operate. I don't think this can be a problem. I think I can get a little further forward, and then we'll make a little bracket or something to mount it. So once this gets pedal pressure, that should not be in the way. The other place to put it maybe would be right here between the pedals. That actually might be more out of the way. It can maybe go in 2 different places, so we'll figure that out as we go. But start modifying the wiring harness. I think I'm going to go ahead and mount this right about here, so I can access it under the hood. And all right, let's get splicing and dicing. Okay guys, so I got this pretty well wired up. I just got to clean up a little bit and put some more of this protective cable on some of the wiring. But yeah, it looks a bit of a mess right now, but I'm going to get it all stored away and make it look nice. But it does work. Headlights are mounted. They're going to shine through the grill, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. I got the wire routed through this inside of the body, and that's in that protective cabling. It's wired up back here. Now, these little wires that come with these lights are very, very small. So I found that I had to, when I'm using these little tiny connectors, and these are 22-16 AWG. I'm not an electrician, but if you can get smaller ones, that's great. But you will need to plug the small wires into thicker ones. So these actually work pretty good, but I did have to double the wire over, in other words, strip it a little extra long and fold it over on itself. Otherwise, it did not want to crimp. It just wanted to pull out on itself. So made these little brackets, and they're mounted nicely. I'll get all the wiring all put away here in a minute, but I want to show you what it looks like. And of course, I got to put the switch in the dash. But there is an on-off switch on the part down here, right there. So it's on right now. And then you flip the switch for the lights, so that illuminates. We have headlights, pretty bright, and we have tail lights. Now, my son's cart, the wiring is different. The red wire off this goes to the low switch, and the yellow to the high switch. This is opposite. This one actually, the yellow wire is the brake light, and the red one is the parking light, or just the regular light when you have the headlights on. And I did test the wiring for the brakes. Oh, I don't have the brake light switch in there right now, but it does function. So, okay, so I want to explain to you the wiring harness system for the brake switch. So this is the brake switch. It's got 2 but bullet connectors already on it. So one power in, power out. So power into one side, power to the other side. So off of the main harness where this fuse is at, when I tied in the new wiring harness, we put a second wire in there. This is just burnt because I used the heat shrinker. Or it looks burnt. It's not actually burnt, it's just colored from the flame. Anyway, so 2 wires go in there. One goes to the wiring harness here. The other one is going to go directly to the brake light switch. So I'll put a bullet connector on there and wire it to that one side of that switch. And in the wiring harness, I added a blue wire so I could tell which was which. This is a brake light wire, so brake, blue, B, both start with B. I don't know, whatever, seems to make sense to me. So that has a bullet connector on it, which will hook to the other side of the switch. So when you press the brake lights, it'll engage the switch and turn the brake lights on. And so like I said earlier, there's an on-off switch on the battery. So currently it's off. Flip it this way, turns it on. So that would energize the brake lights. So you can run the brake lights without having the headlights on if you wanted to. Not a bad idea, for example, in competition, so people don't run into the back of you if you're applying your brakes. I think, CycleKarts having brakes is not a terrible idea. Maybe it stops people from following too close to you, so they know you're hitting the brakes before corners. So that's the idea of it. So I do need to make some sort of a mount to keep that from bouncing around, because I know that this will bounce around quite a bit. And then we'll put some of this protective material on most of the wires so it don't rub against anything. Okay, so set the body back on it, and the lights shine through the grill pretty nicely. It's illuminating the garage door there in this daylight right now, and I think that works pretty good. They're not super visible when the lights are off. They kind of disappear. Let me flip them off real quick. And they're not super visible in there, so I don't think you're going to really notice it. So that's kind of what I wanted. I didn't want them to be super obvious that they were there. And even the taillights on the back are not really obvious because they're black and kind of down low like that. But when they come on and come off, turn on and turn off, hopefully they'll be enough to be visible. So anyway, the goal of this was to get it ready for Wilcox so we can run in the dark. I think the brake lights are a nice touch too. That'll give us a little bit of safety, extra safety factor. And in the next video, we'll upgrade the brakes. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for all the comments. I really appreciate it. And stay tuned. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up, so you might want to subscribe to my channel and Dennis Thomas's channel, because we're getting together to build a really cool CycleKart. In fact, there's a big box of parts right here that Amazon sent, thanks to all the great guys on the CycleKart Club on Facebook. Sent out all those parts to us. It's going to be a big help to get that club cart built. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Get out in the garage and build something cool.